Alright, so the first thing we're going to talk about with the law of demand, we've kind of set this up in three different sections here. First is the questions, which includes the what is demand and what does demand tell us. And then we're going to go to our concepts, which is demand versus quantity demanded, along with the demand relationship. So just kind of understanding what really is demand and getting more information about understanding it. And the last part is the answers. So hopefully that includes, oh, I've got my light bulb, I completely understand it. So first we're going to start with the questions here. So our questions, first, what is demand? So demand is the quantities of a good that customers are willing to buy at a series of different prices in a market at a period of time. So I know that's a lot of information right now. That's a big sentence, but we're going to break it down as we go through our explanation of what is demand. And just something to remember, relationship between prices and quantities based on the customer. That's what demand really is. It's that relationship. So what does demand tell us? Why is it important? Why do we need to know it? Why do I even care? Well, it's very important. Customers' desires and wants and is what the demand actually tells us. So it's not including anything about what their purchases were or how much they actually bought. The second part of what it tells us is the amount of product the customer is willing to buy at different prices. And an important concept to remember when we're talking about demand and supply later on here is that it works under the assumption that everything, not including prices and quantities, are staying the same. So this concept is called ceteris paribus. So excuse me if I'm pronouncing that wrong. I know that's Latin. So we'll need to remember that concept because it's going to come up later. Alright, so we're on to our second part here, which is the concepts. And it's just basically understanding demand and quantity demanded. And what's the difference, really? So demand is a price and a quantity. So an example of this would be that I'm going to go buy bananas. And on week 3, they cost $2 a pound. So I'm going to buy less of them because it costs more per pound. And then on week 10, you can see they cost 50 cents a pound. So I'm going to buy a lot more bananas because they cost less. So then we're going to look over here and we're going to see the quantity demanded. Now that's different than just the demand by itself because the quantity demanded is the actual amount of a product that a customer is going to buy at a single specific price at a certain time. So why do we need to know that? Basically, it's talking about a certain time that someone's going to buy something. So an example of this would be if I wanted to go buy red high heels, and when I go to the mall, they end up costing $230. And so at this specific point in time, I'm going to decide that's entirely too much to spend on a pair of red high heels, so I'm going to not get them. The second part of our concept here includes the demand relationship. So what exactly is the demand relationship? It's basically telling us that when the price of a product increases, the quantity demanded decreases. So if you think about that, it actually makes sense. And the other part of this is saying that the price of a product decreases, it causes the quantity demanded to increase. So it's like we were talking about with our bananas. We're going to buy more when they cost less. So there's two ways to kind of look at this demand relationship or for us to see it as more than just a sentence on a piece of paper. The first part is going to be with our demand schedule, which is showing our graph here, and that's going to show us the price quantity reaction based on the demand relationship. So based on whether the price of a product is increasing and the quantity demanded is decreasing, whether the price of a product is decreasing and the quantity demanded is increasing. So that's kind of what this chart is showing. You can see on the left column where it's price per pound, it's showing that when the price is 50 cents per pound, there on the right side you can see that we're actually going to be quantity demanding is going to be a lot higher, as opposed to down at the bottom of the chart where you see if the price per pound costs $2, then the pounds per week that's actually the quantity demanded is a lot less than at the top of the chart there. So we're going to continue on. We're going to look at our demand curve. This is the last part of our concepts. And so the demand curve is showing the same information as the demand schedule. It's just showing it in a little bit easier way to understand. So you can look at actually our graph there that's on the right side of the page at the top, and you can see how as the price increases, that the quantity demanded is actually decreasing. And so the last part of this is kind of interpretation and understanding about the demand concept as a whole. And so we want to remember 3 different things. First, that the changes in the price only changes the quantity that the customer wants, or the quantity demanded. So it's only changing the price and the quantity, nothing else. Remember, everything else is staying constant. The second part of that is that knowing that the price and the quantity don't actually change the demand. The customer still wants the product even when they can't afford it or don't feel like that the price matches what the product is worth. And the last part is that we need to remember that the demand only shows the customer's wants, not their actual purchases. So not what they've actually bought themselves. Well, guys, I hope this has kind of helped you get a better idea of the law of demand, and I'll see you in the next video.